Success is a flavor and it tastes best when you have worked hard for it. If your career has not had enough failures, you haven't been successful. And if you've not determined to restart every time you fail, you haven't been successful. If you're trying to achieve your 56 at 20, you may crumble under pressure. That's what most of us are trying to do. Career success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Why are we all chasing career success? Because career success is about paychecks, titles, and status. And that is visible to everybody. And we are chasing it because we want a sense of visibility in that area. But if I were to ask you if career success is the only success then we have, what about when titles change? What about when you take career breaks? What about when you don't get the jobs that you want to or the paychecks that you want to? Then what happens to that career success that we keep talking about? Success or career success is not about a one-time feel or one season in life. It's about a long-term thing that we do. We'll come to it. Before that, I just want to give you a clear understanding about job versus career. Sometimes we misunderstand jobs for career. Jobs can change. It can be many. Career is only one. So don't wrongly attach your profession to your career or your job. Jobs can be many. You can switch. I mean, you heard Dan speaking, you heard Nivi speaking. You can switch jobs. Career is completely different. Okay. Career is not about speed. It's about the longevity. Jobs change, but careers mature. So it's for us to take a deeper dig into what does it mean to have a career success. Elements of success. It's three-dimensional. Okay. We always look at success in terms of income or money or paychecks or titles or status, but it's actually three-dimensional. First is your longevity. That's your first dimension of your success. If you want to check the elements of success, can this way of living sustain me for the long run? I come from a generation probably 30 or 40 years before you. I know my grandparents struggled even to go to school and college to be educated. They didn't have those options. Then came my parents where they were educated, they wrestled to go to work. You know, women wrestled to go to work. They had to struggle it out at home. Then came my generation. We studied, we went out to work, no questions asked. Now is a generation where you study, you can afford to take a break because there's somebody funding for you and then decide which career you want to take. Good. You have those options, but you got to take those options wisely. Can this career path that I'm taking sustain me in the long run? We're not talking about 1 year, 2 years. We're talking about 30 years from now. Can it sustain me? Will it give me enough income to sustain a life without being dependent on somebody? Second is the depth. That's where Dan spoke about the motivational factor. The purpose, the passion, the profession. Do I feel content? Do I like what I'm doing? Does it interest me? At the end of the day, do I feel I did something well? Do I come back satisfied home? Is there space for innovation and growth? Is my mind being engaged in that? That's the depth. And the third dimension is the impact I leave. That's where ethics and integrity play a place. They play an important role because when you work in any space, it could be a job in any space, you could be even in college, you need to leave an impact for somebody. Somebody's got to point at you and say, hey, I want to work like that person. The kind of meticulous work that that person has, the kind of perfection with which it's done, the kind of planning with which they do it, the way they organize it, I want to be like that person. Your career needs to leave an impact behind. Now, if any one of these dimensions are missing, you will feel a hollow in your career. Okay, what about the measurements for success? Everybody's talking so much about success. Personally, I want to measure if I'm successful or not. How do I measure my success? Again, three things: challenges, failures, restarts. If your career has not had sufficient challenges, you've not been successful. If your career has not had enough failures, you haven't been successful. And if you've not determined to restart every time you fail, you haven't been successful. So let's stop thinking success in terms of paycheck, bank balance, life status, the kind of vehicles we drive. It's about the number of challenges you have faced. Like Nivi said, where did I pick up these skills from? It was not taught to me in college. In every space that I worked, I picked it up. So if you're talking about challenges, failures, and restarts, you do it in every phase of your career. You should have the willingness to learn and unlearn. Learning is easy, unlearning is very difficult. You can measure your success by the willingness to unlearn things. I haven't been doing this properly, though I thought I have, but I'm going to change it from now. Unlearning things. Second thing, we live in a generation with people who always want to be motivated. Motivate me, motivate me. Somebody keep pushing me from behind. Sadly, motivation is not always available. That's why we fall back on discipline. Measurement of success talks a lot about a disciplined life. Sometimes when the chips are down and things are not working well at office the way you thought it will, your comfort zone is your discipline. You just go back to work and do the same thing that you've done every day. Do it meticulously. The last thing, of course, is the willingness to butt through a challenge. Like a wild ox, just butt through it. I like this quote said by Thomas Jefferson, at the end of the rope, so many times you're at the end of a rope, no, we tell that. He says, tie a knot and hang on there. When we're at the end of the rope, we're always looking for another rope to hook on and move on. Sometimes you just have to hang on there and wait for the right opportunity to restart. Measurement of your success is basically the fact that, like all of you said, the kick that you get out of a success. When you've reached a mountain peak, that's the base for the next mountain you have to climb. So after every sense of achievement, if you thought you've reached, you're not. It's just the base for your next achievement. What are the success markers in various seasons? Okay. As you know by now, I belong to another generation. So I've kind of completed one success career round. So let me tell you this. Thinking back on my own life and many other people that I have seen. When you're 20 to 30 years old, what drives you is your passion. Money matters. I mean, you need some money on your pocket, but it's a backup at home. We can still survive. What drives you is your passion. You want to do something that's close to your heart, you're passionate about. Then when you move to your 30s and 40s, now it becomes identity. How do people identify me? Do they call me by the profession, by my title where I'm working? Your professionalism takes shape and there's a visibility about your growth. And you want your growth to be visible to others. You could be in any line. You could have studied commerce and moved into some other line, marketing, sales, whatever. But that 30 to 40 phase is where you want people to identify you with your growth. Then comes your 50 to 55. Now others are watching you. You want to become a guide. You want to be a reference point. You want to be a role model. Now, excellence now carries more responsibility on your shoulder because it's time for you to move out of the stage. So you want to leave something back. And then finally, when you're 56 and beyond, you return back to your passion. Profession steps back, purpose comes back. That's where I am now. I started studying again. I love to study. Right? That's one complete career circle. Just like the game that you played now, you can't do it fast. Career is not a fast rush. At 20 and 30, you can't prove what you can prove only at 40. At 20 and 30, you want that high steep to say, hey, see how I made it. If you go that fast, the probability is that by 40, 45, you'll slump down again. Just like the game that you played. I love the way you did. 1, 2, 1, 2. You first went fast, then you went slow. You realize some things didn't work. Only this speed will work. So that's the whole career journey. Only certain speed will work. If you're trying to achieve your 56 at 20, you may crumble under pressure. That's what most of us are trying to do. We're trying to make big titles, big paychecks at the age of 30, 35, which probably you will get at your 40s. And that's the pressure on your career now. I got to make it big. Why? Because globally, we hear big names. Sundar Pichai, this person, that person came from a difficult background, making it big in life, so I can make it big at 30. You have time on your hand. What's the hurry? So let me complete. How do I redefine success? Now, if you could probably turn around and ask me, but yeah, the society is constantly scanning me. The society is constantly checking whether I'm growing or not. That is inevitable. If you're trying to silence the whole world by saying, hey guys, wait till I'm 56 and you'll know what I'll become, the society will not be silent. Why? With your growth, the community grows. With the community growing, the nation grows. So everybody who's been questioning you is interested in their growth through you. and in the country growing through you? So those questions are inevitable, but what you can do is make your own evaluation markers. The society might give you paychecks and titles and this and that. Make your own evaluation markers. I would suggest these three that work in my own life: longevity, depth, impact. Longevity. Can people walk with me in this marathon, or am I too fast? That I'm willing to let go of everybody and just run this on a sprint. Career success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Can my longevity accommodate people to walk along with me? Second is depth. Am I constantly driven in this career success? Or somewhere I'm bugged of this career. I just want to shut it down, spend my money, go off to the Himalayas, do something there and come back. The depth has to be constantly there. And that depth, nobody will motivate us because everybody is busy building their own careers. That motivation has to come from within, the willingness to not give up. And then finally, the impact. When I get into an organization and when I leave the organization, have I left that organization a better place than when I got into that role? There could be a whole lot of things I can talk about. But here's my final. A lot of these components are not within our control. We so wish it was within our control. But a lot of these components in the career success is not within our control. That is why when Dan said, wait for incidental opportunities, pick it up as and when they come, you should be willing for that flexibility as well. Finally, closing. Career is not pressure until you have created your own evaluation markers. And in that, you see that you are growing. You're growing. You're not sprinting, but you're growing. That's good enough to call yourself, I've been succeeding in my career at this season of my life.